Hello Internet, so nice to see you. The circle of fifth is one of the main ideas in music and music theory, and the progressions based on the circle of fifths are super common, but most of those progressions go in the same direction. What if we explore the opposite direction? So let me explain. Let's say I'm in C major, okay? And I'm starting from C, but then I jump to an E minor, and then from there, I'm moving the root of the chord down a fifth, down a fifth, down a fifth. So I have C major, E minor, which again is just an arbitrary jumping point. But then I have, going down a fifth, I have A minor. Down a fifth, I have D minor. Down a fifth, I have G major. And then I have down a fifth, back to C. Again, the whole thing. You've heard this stuff, okay? It's very, very common. That's what I personally call a circle of fifth progression. Some people call this a circle of fourth progression because they are thinking that the root goes up a fourth, while I prefer to think that the root is going down a fifth. It's exactly the same, guys, okay? Let's not get angry about this. It's exactly the same thing, okay? Some people call this a turnaround progression or a circle back progression. There are several names. It's super common both in classical music and in jazz, and indeed practically in every style of music. I've heard a lot of metal with this chord progression, believe it or not. For me, though, it's more interesting if we go in the opposite direction. The problem with the opposite direction is that if we apply it naively, it's kind of lame. Okay, so let's say I'm starting from this C major. And then I'm proceeding in the opposite direction, so essentially up a fifth or down a fourth, however you want to call it, okay? And again, I'm talking about the root of the chord. The root of the chord goes up a fifth or down a fourth every time. So I'll have C major, then I will have G major, then I will have D minor, and then A minor, and then I will have E minor, and then it's not clear. At this point, I will have to put a B diminish, which kind of sucks. And then I would have to put an F major, and kind of the progression gets lost here. And that's to be expected, honestly. When you hit the diminished chord in the key, sometimes the sequences of those kind of systematic chord progression tend to break and not work anymore. Point is, if that's the first time you hear it, or you haven't heard that much, that actually sounds pretty interesting. But to me, it misses a little bit of pizzazz. It misses a little bit of tension, etc. This chord progression could sound way, way, way more epic, okay? So here's an interesting solution, and it's a chain suspension trick. Essentially, you suspend every chord into the next one. Okay, first, let me play it, and then I will explain to you how it works. And then from there, you can go wherever you want, okay? And later, I'm going to show you a possible conclusion. What is happening here? First of all, you can agree with me or not here, but I think this second version sounds much more epic, much more interesting, and with the right arrangement, it will create a very interesting song, okay? A very musical song, as opposed to simply, okay, which is a bit meh. What am I doing here? Okay, well, the first chord is C major, and I'm playing it in two different voicings simply because I want this C major chord to last 2 beats. The next chord is G major, okay? But I'm holding the C note into G major. So at this point in time here, I'm playing the C chord with 2 C notes and an E note. And then I'm playing the G chord, but suspending the fourth, meaning I'm holding that C note into the G. And the C note, it's the fourth of G. And the notes I'm playing are G, the root and the bass, the C, the fourth, and D, the fifth of the chord. Then I'm resolving the C down to a B. So, but at the same time, I'm also playing the root of the chord on top, meaning I'm playing a G on top. So I'm going from here to here. Why am I doing this? I mean, the resolution from C to B is because I want to eventually end on the G chord. That's what gives me this kind of tension and resolution. But why am I playing the G note? Because I am preparing the next suspension, because that G note is then suspended into the next chord, which is D minor. See that the top note here is a G, and it's the fourth of D minor. I'm playing the notes D, A, and G. Make sense? So there is this little trick here. So starting from this point in time with the C chord, I'm playing this with the fifth, with the fourth and the fifth of the chord. And by the way, I want to play this fifth too, because the fifth is a D, and so it conflicts with the fourth, and it kind of enhance the dissonance, because I have a note that conflicts pretty strongly. Okay, so I'm playing the fifth when I have the fourth, so I feel the dissonance, and then I'm playing the third of the chord and the root, so that the root prepares the next suspension. In the next chord, D minor, I'm playing the root, the fifth, and the fourth. And when I resolve this fourth down to the minor third this time, because the next chord is D minor, I'm also playing the root of the chord here on the third string. So I have the notes D, D, and F. Why? Because on the next chord, which is A minor, now I'm gonna hold this note, the D, and do the same game again. I'm playing the root of the chord A, the fourth, which is D, and the fifth, which is E. I have the fourth and the fifth, so I can feel the dissonance. And I'm resolving this fourth down to the third, so D to C, and at the same time I'm playing a top A note. And this A becomes the dissonant fourth on the next chord, which is E minor, and so on and so forth. Okay, so again. But wait a moment, Tommaso. Now you went out of the key of C, because I'm playing a B sus4, and this top note here is an F sharp. And so we went out of key. Yes, this sequence, this progression take you out of the key temporarily. It adds an F sharp to a C major key, which is would have a natural F. So this sequence take you out of the key. That's part of its charm and its effect. Okay, it just takes you out of the key, but so gradually you barely notice. Okay. Now at the end, I will have again this. I have this E minor, the B sus4, and a B minor. I am out of the key now. I am completely out of the key. Well, completely. I am one note out of the key, okay? Which means that I am probably in G major. So how do I finish this? There are several ways to finish this. One way would be at this point to play a simple cadenza, a cadence, okay, in G major, which would sound something like that. And maybe then modulate back from G major, which is this is G major, so something like nothing really complex, essentially. It's a super basic modulation from G major to C major. So if you want to play this whole thing as a little piece, if you want, you will start with our chain suspension. The end of the chain suspension, you add a 4, 5, 1 in G, then you get modulate to C, something like, and then you put a cadence in C. Really not that hard. Even the modulation is a weak cadence in C. So essentially I'm playing the chain suspension, a cadence in G, a weak cadence in C, and then a strong cadence in C. And This is all super basic thing, okay? It just takes time to explain, but it's just super basic thing, okay? But the main point of this video today is this chain suspension and how emotional it sounds, because every time you suspend a dissonance into the next chord, it just sounds beautiful to me. And that's one possible way to arrange the whole thing. Of course, there are several variations, but I would recommend you guys try this on your guitar, maybe write something with that. It's very inspirational as a progression. Now, if you want to learn more about all the cadences, how to connect those things, and especially how to learn all your chords on the guitar so that this thing become easy and it's not too daunting, I would recommend you guys have a look at my course, Complete Chord Mastery. Yes, it's a shameless plug, but then again, it's the internet. And honestly, I think for many of you, this is going to help you a lot in making sense of the guitar and how the harmony works on the guitar and how to come up with those ideas yourself. And learning in a much easier way how other people are doing all these, and then even come out with your own ideas and your own chord progression, and honestly become way more creative on the guitar. Complete Chord Mastery, it's not a book. It's a complete video course that takes you from the basics up. We do everything you need to know about harmony and chords on your guitar. All the theory is done straight on the fretboard. There is no theory for the sake of theory here. Everything is immediately practical, and everything is developed through exercises, so you know how to apply these immediately on your guitar. If you have just a minute, click on the link on the top right to check out Complete Chord Mastery. If you like this video, smash on that like button and don't forget to subscribe and click on notification, otherwise YouTube will not let you know when I put up a new video. And if you have any comment, feedback, suggestions, write them down in the comment. I enjoy reading from you and I make videos on your suggestions. This is Tommaso Zilio of musictheoryforguitar.com, and until next time, enjoy!